what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. It's your boy, Dead on Dave, and I didn't need to do any video of me for this one, so I'm just going to kind of just keep jumping around to different things that I have pre-loaded. I'll show you some memes. I'll show you some the nice little banner we have here with the weekly schedule on it. And if you're looking at the schedule and you know today's Saturday, you know what's crack-a-lackin' today. It is the top 5. And those of you who've been watching all week know that I went to you, the viewers, for what I should do for top 5s. And there were a lot of great suggestions. A lot. I was really, really overwhelmed with how many suggestions there truly were. I mean, dang. I mean, there were some great ones. Black Mamba had some hilarious ones, including top 5 ways that Ed Crowley is a bitch. That was my personal favorite, and I almost went with it, but I decided not to. There were some great ones, great matches in WrestleMania history. Top 5 changes to the WWE that I want right now. That was a really good one. But after looking at it, and after going through all the ones that were suggested, and I'll probably use some of them in the future, there were some really obscure ones, too. Ed Crowley's really good for things like that, like top 5 pay-per-view logos. I was like, okay, why not? Top 5 funniest wrestlers. There was all kinds of good stuff. Top 5 greatest pops. But after looking through all of them, the one that I decided to go with, actually 2, because I'm combining 2 into 1, is top 5 greatest and top 5 worst ring attires of all time. So we got some pictures, we got some honorable mentions, we got all kinds of things to talk about. Let's start right here in the top 5 worst, I guess worst 5 ring attires of all time. Let's start with some dishonorable mentions, shall we? Aldo Montoya. I wish I should have had pictures of some of these guys too, because most of you might not know who the hell I'm talking about. Aldo Montoya was, what a reject looking guy. He just generic. It looked like they just cut a piece of plastic and put it on for his mask. He looked terrible. Battle Cat, that's another one, really, really bad costume. Zack Ryder. I'm sorry, guys. I know that the Long Island Ice Z is a favorite and everything, but his costume he had for a while was so terrible. As my wife puts it, it looks like he just couldn't afford the other leg of his pants. If you guys know what I'm talking about, he had for a long period of time, he only wore one leg of his pants. That happened. That actually happened. Brutus the Barber Beefcake. If his name wasn't bad enough, his outfit was just horrendous. It was so bad. It was just, God, it was awful. It doesn't get much worse than that one. It didn't make the list, but it's an honorable mentions. That one's up there towards the top. Oz, when Kevin Nash probably never thought he could sink lower than Vinny Vegas. He was wrong, because Oz was terrible. And Oz might have actually been before Vinny Vegas, now that I think about it, but I'm not sure. They were both terrible gimmicks, both terrible costumes, so it is what it is. So with all that being said, let's go ahead and jump to the actual top 5, or worst 5, I should say. And let's start right here. The Shockmaster, number 5, the Shockmaster. How many of you guys remember this terrible outfit? This is only something that can come from Dusty Rhodes' friggin' brain. He had like a construction worker friend of his, a wrestler who was the Rhodes family likes him. I can't remember his name off the top of my head, and I'm sure I'll get corrected in the comments section. But they're like, here's what we'll do. We'll take this overweight dude, and we'll put him in this weird mink vest thing, and we'll just bedazzle the fuck out of a Star Wars Stormtrooper helmet. That's all we need to do. Boom! We've got the greatest thing ever. And then we'll have him bust through a wall. We'll have him bust through a wall. And it didn't go well. Just nothing about this went well. The costume is just one of the worst things ever put together in the history of wrestling. He busts through the wall. His damn helmet comes flying off of his head. What the hell? What the hell, Dusty? Oh, my God. And they had him with Sting, I think, and all kinds of stuff. He was part of a team. Oh, my God. Just one of the worst things ever. There's no defense here. And I'm a Star Wars fanatic, and there's nothing about this I like. Nothing. Number four. Conan has been around for a very long time. He's been wrestling all over the world, but people forget that he was in WWE for a while, and this was his character, Max Moon. Look at this horrendous outfit worn by Conan, Max Moon. Holy crap on a cracker. It is just absolutely horrible. Horrible. And you know the worst part of it? And I got to give Conan some credit on this. He developed a $13,000 costume. He developed it. And then he got WWE to flip the bill. Viva la raza! Orale! That's right, man. K-Dog. Oh, my God. That's too good. It's too good. I'd rather have him as Max Moon than whatever the hell he's doing over in Lucha now. I'm going to blade myself. Nobody cares if you bleed, buddy. You're Conan, That's a guy who really, I believe, overestimates his place in wrestling history. He's just one of those guys. Right now he's trying to make himself into a Paul Heyman, and he's not the talker that Paul Heyman is. I also believe his talking ability has always been overestimated. He did the exact same. Orale, viva la raza. You know those strawberry boys in the Wolfpack. They say for life, but NWO Hogan is forever. It was just terrible, man. Oh God. So Conan's just not one of my guys. I love his wrestling ability. I felt later, the further he went on to his career, the more limited he became. But early on, that guy was a monster. He was an absolute beast. I loved watching him wrestle. Number 4. Let's get to number 4, shall we? This one is amazing. Giant Gonzales. It's just amazing how terrible this was. When Giant Gonzales emerged, they were like, he's huge. He's going to dwarf the Undertaker. This guy's going to be great. I got a great idea, Vince. Or maybe it's Vince's idea. Let's put him in a bodysuit with weird patches of hair all over it. And let's airbrush muscles. And you know what? They should sue the hell out of 300 because they airbrushed muscles long before 300 got the idea. They were like, you know what we should do? Would make a great movie. Would make our Spartans look even more badass. We'll just airbrush the shit out of their muscles, man. It'll be great. Nah, I know most of those guys are actually ripped, but you could tell they were really touched up in post, you know what I'm saying? And it's the same thing here. Look at the hair on his dong. Can we talk about the hair on the dong for a moment? What the hell is going on here? Not only is this one of the worst outfits in the history of wrestling, but it gave us probably the worst WrestleMania match of all time. It's hard pressed to find a worse match than this. This one is bad. But this outfit, player, it's all absolutely worthy of number 3. It's just god awful. Now I'm going to talk about one that most of you probably have no idea who this is, who these guys are. Let me give you a little backstory. In 2002, the Shane Twins won the NWA World Tag Team Championships. And they appeared in TNA shortly after under the ring names Richard Dick Johnson and Rod Johnson. And they were known as the Johnson Brothers. Now, I know that I'm talking about them while I'm not showing the picture yet. And I'm about to. But I really want to set this up because this is one of the worst things I've ever seen. It's hard to not say this is number 1, but I'm going to give it number 2. Here we go. You ready for this? I give you the Johnsons. Holy God. What the hell were they thinking? This is just, okay, maybe this would work if you put 2 in-shape guys in these outfits, but they didn't. You put 2 doughy guys, and they just like a couple of penises. Just a couple of penises. If he puts his hand over his head and like clasps his hand together and put him right on top of his head, it would really look like a dick. I mean, my God, this is bad. Not only is it bad because it just looks horrible, it's lazy and generic and really just horrible. It's like, it's Giant Gonzales' outfit without any shit on it. There's like, well, we can't afford to airbrush anything. Fuck it. What were they thinking? This one is really just one of those, what were the fuck they thinking? I have no idea. So the question is, what beats that for worst outfit of all time? Well, it takes a very special outfit, and more importantly, it takes a very special person. So even when this guy's outfits was at his absolute best, they were still weird and different and definitely groundbreaking for the time. But when he transformed into a different version of himself, both in reality and on screen, he came up with an outfit so egregious, so terrible. And this is probably, he had a whole bunch of them that were really bad, but this is probably the worst. So I give you 1997, 1998, Goldust. This one in particular, which I know he wore more than once, but this one right here is the absolute worst wrestling ring attire in the history of the sport. I mean, there's so much to talk about. Let's talk about the Dennis Rodman friggin' hair. We can start there. He kept the Goldust paint mask on, or paint face paint. But then he goes with a weird ball gag. I guess he watched Pulp Fiction and said, hey, what if I'd made it pink? The dog chain because he was Luna Vachon's pet. Oh, my God. The weird shoulder spikes. Let's talk about these weird shoulder spikes. They do not complement his strange little friggin' tattoos on his undeveloped arms that he had. The breast straps with the little spike nips here. And it goes down even further. I mean, this is just... It's so horrible, and nobody could get behind it. As much as people do like Goldust and liked him before, and Dustin Rhodes even more importantly, and how over he is now back as the original Goldust, nobody could get into this because we knew that this went well beyond wrestling. Something was wrong with this guy. He made everybody uncomfortable in a completely different way. And with Goldust originally having his match with Roddy Piper and kissing him and all that weird stuff that he had at WrestleMania and all of those things, that was a different type of awkward. This was awkward, uncomfortable. It was not a fun ride for anybody. Jim Ross trying to call this shit was ridiculous too. It's just, this really did completely go well beyond anything in the scope of wrestling, and it is, at least for me, the worst wrestling outfit of all time. I don't think it's hard. It would be hard pressed to come up with a worse one than that, I think. So what do you guys think? Did I miss any? Did I hit them all? Is this an accurate list? What do you guys think? Let me know. So now, think if those are my top 5 worst, what are the greatest? What's the best top 5 ring attire outfits, whatever, of all time? Well, it's interesting. My honorable mentions probably could make their own top 5, to be completely honest. And I'm going to start in the honorable mentions with Rick. I really wish I had pictures of all of these guys. I'm so stupid. I only have the top 5. Ricky Steamboat, when he was in WWE as the Dragon. I mean, back when he was in WCW, he'd just wear karate gi and stuff like that. And it was interesting. But when he came as the Dragon in like 1990 and he was in WWE and stuff, he had the full, and he didn't wear it a lot, but he had the full Dragon ensemble with the wings and everything. I don't know if it was good or bad. I mean, that's the thing about it. It was really cool when I was a kid, but now, and I was going to put it in the top 5. I actually did have Ricky Steamboat in the top 5 here as I was making this list. And then the more I stared at the picture, I was like, maybe this was not a good idea. So I quickly got away from that. Stone Cold Steve Austin. I want to talk about him because him and Mick Foley, both, I'll talk about in the same category. Why their ring attires were so good and so classic is the simplicity. And they were able to really, even Mick Foley even more so, I think, as Cactus Jack. And I think Stone Cold Steve Austin's ring attire, a lot of ways, emulate that. I mean, maybe not the flannel and all that stuff, but I mean just in its working class, everyday mentality. It's very relatable, very relatable. And even as Mankind, after he was out of the brown weird jumpsuit thing he was wearing, when he went into the shirt and tie that was all tattered, it was just something you could always relate to. And then, of course, Mick Foley wrestling as just Mick Foley in like Walmart brand sweatpants. You know, it's just he was always relatable, and you always wanted to cheer for him. And it was cool to see. Stone Cold Steve Austin's he had this ass kickery about him, and his outfit always represented that. It was just very cool. Even when he was the ringmaster, whenever he got into WWE, it didn't change that much. It was black boots, friggin' black tights, some elbow pads, you know, and his classic knee braces and all of that. But it was the stuff that he would wear to the ring on top of it, just a shirt and a vest and a hat. It was simplistic, but it worked. It was always cool. The simplicity, the throwback of it with the black and everything, it was just very cool. And I know it's not something fantastic or anything. That's why it's on this list. It's because it's not overly flashy, and it didn't need to be. It's the same thing with Mick Foley. Remember, this is the honorable mentions. The Road Warriors. The Road Warriors, I absolutely loved. In their NWA days, in the early days, they looked really ridiculous. The face paint was never that good. The spikes didn't seem like they were made out of anything cool. They were weird looking, bent a lot of the times. But the more popular they got, the higher they went on cards and the better promotions they went to, their outfits, their ring gear got better and better, and culminating in the red shoulder pads with the giant black spikes and the really good face paint. The Road Warriors were intimidating. They were so good, and where they were in WCW and NWA and everything, that the WWE, wanting to make their own, tried to do the same thing with Demolition. And while Demolition was cool, their outfits were nowhere near as badass as the Road Warriors. In fact, I feel the Demolition's outfits, their ring gear, is just hokey and took away from the ass kickery that was Demolition. But I mean, what else were they supposed to do? Finally, in the honorable mentions, I'm going to give a little bit of love to a man I don't always give a lot of love to. I'm going to give some love to Bret Hart here. Bret Hart, one of the only guys I know who can make pink work. And he did. The pink and black attack worked. Just plain and simple. The glasses that he would give to a kid, what a cool gimmick, man. Just an awesome gimmick. Something that just instantly relates you to fans in every way, every arena that you went to. Just so cool. Wearing you had the jacket, the leather jacket. The outfit was always, it was just spot on. It was perfect. It worked for Bret Hart. And you wouldn't think that pink would work on such a level, but it did. And so I got to give a lot of credit to Bret Hart there, which I don't do a lot on this show, and I understand that. So Bret Hart just outside of the top 5, and he could probably make a case to knock one of my guys out. Maybe this first one. So let's go ahead and jump right into it. And since we started with Bret Hart, what perfect... Oh, God, I can't see. What more of a... Sorry about that. I had a little bit of a brain fart. I might have had an aneurysm and died for a second, but I'm back to life. What more of a perfect person than to talk about on number 5 on the list than following Bret Hart? Then good old HBK, Shawn Michaels, one of my favorites of all time. He is my favorite wrestler of all time. I've made no qualms about that. But I loved his ring gear, man. I did. I loved everything about it. It was just he infused his own style with the Texas stuff, the chaps, and even now, you know, he still wears cool stuff with the bent hat. I had a friend that grew up in Corpus Christi while I was in the Army. He always said Shawn Michaels looked like what they called a river rat. Apparently in Texas, there was guys who lived like in trailer parks near the river, and Shawn Michaels looked like one of those guys. He looked like a river rat. And with the name, the real last name of Hickenbottom, that should not come as a surprise. Michael Shawn Hickenbottom. What a name. But his outfit represented him. I mean, it really did. It worked for him on a level that not everybody was able to always pull off. You would have, some guys would have outfits like Rick Martel. It never felt right. Rick the Model Martel, his outfit never seemed to feel right to me. Maybe it was just because I never liked that gimmick on him. I feel because I feel Martel, his talent was so much greater than his gimmick gave him credit for. And if people forget, Rick Martel at like the age of 40 or something went to WCW and was working fantastic matches for a short period of time with Booker T over the U.S. television title and stuff, or the TV title. I mean, man, people forget how good Rick Martel really was. And he was fantastic. But some guys, their outfits transcends who they are. And Shawn Michaels is one of those guys. Everything worked about Shawn Michaels. And the outfits, this one is a really cool one too. I wanted to highlight this one. But his WrestleMania garb, the stuff that he would wear at Mania, it was always amazing. And to the end of his career, when he would go, the first Undertaker match, when he went in the full white with all the cool designs. I mean, that was just badass when he started infusing the Christianity symbols and stuff. It still worked for him. And it's just one of those things. Shawn Michaels, once again, knowing how to promote and highlight the wonder that is Shawn Michaels. So that's number 5. Number 4. Look at the bulge. We got a bulge alert here on this picture. The Ultimate Warrior. The Ultimate Warrior. Check it out, man. I'm a huge fan of I'm going to actually make this a 2-parter, I think. Yeah, I think the more I think about it, I'm going to have to make this a 2-parter here on number 3. I'm going to give a little bit of love to the Ultimate Warrior because of the different variations of outfits he had. And people forget how many different versions of his outfit that he had. He had this really cool look here where he had the overcoat, the trench coat, with designs that I understand he actually made himself. And then he would have his regular look. He had a onesie for a long time, which was really cool. And look, a guy who could take friggin' tassels off of a bike and put it on his arms and make it look badass, I give full credit to that. All right, and the face paint, everything worked for the Ultimate Warrior. But I wanted to throw him into this category with the other guy that I already kind of stumbled on his name. And you can make a case that maybe it's the greatest ring gear of all time, and that is The Undertaker. For me, it's not, and part of it is probably because I have not always been the biggest Undertaker fan. This shows a little bit of his evolution as far as his ring gear goes. The Undertaker had such a unique way of looking, and he came off of really bad booking in WCW and stuff, and just getting the one-shot deal that he got at a Survivor Series in 1990, it just always worked. And his outfit would subtly change over the 90s. Over the course of the 90s, it would remain relatively the same, but get darker and more ominous as the years went on. As you can see, this top line shows all the way through the Ministry, basically. And he had these awesome robes that he would wear over when he was with the Ministry and everything. It was just really cool. And then The Undertaker being able to reinvent himself like only The Undertaker can. Goes American Badass, which most people are not huge fans of. But he just started being Mean Mark Calloway. I mean, that's just really what he was. He just wears biker gear. He's a biker, and that's what he would just wear to the ring, and it worked. And he had cool variations of the leather jackets and the jean jackets that he would wear, and just cool stuff, man. I always really dug the things that he would wear. And then finally going into this hybrid style that he had when he came back in 2004, this urban cowboy, Undertaker, biker look, was the leather trench coat and everything, and it's evolved more from there. Of course, he's kind of gone back to the robes and the shaved head and all kinds of weird stuff. The Undertaker has always been able to really connect with everybody around him because he had this aura of spookiness, and that was always really shown through his outfits. So this spot really belongs more to The Undertaker than it does Ultimate Warrior, but I felt both of them were more than just an honorable mention, so I wanted to make sure they both got in here. I think that it was important that I did that. I'm sorry, this is number 4. You have 4 on the list. It probably should be higher maybe now that I'm thinking. I'm talking myself into The Undertaker being a little bit higher than 4, but you know, I'm sure this will probably be the most debated one of the entire list because Ultimate Warrior maybe shouldn't even be there, and for some people, but I felt that he deserved a little love, so I put him in this same one with the Ultimate Warrior or with the Undertaker, which a lot of people are going to think should be number 1, but it is what it is. So next on the list is this man. Ravishing Rick Rude. Now, why would I put Rick Rude on this list? That might be a question that you might have. It's just tights. That's all he wore was just tights. He didn't wear much else but tights. Well, here's why Rick Rude is on this list, and he deserves to be number 3 here. For at least, like, 3, 4, 5 are debatable. You can put them in any order that you want, I think. The Undertaker could be anywhere on this list from 1 to 5. Rude and Michaels both belong in the top 5 to 3. 1 and 2 are going to be harder to debate, I think. It's going to be really difficult for anybody to knock 1 and 2. But this is so good. Rick Rude would put either you or the source of your biggest weakness not just on his tights, but he would put their face on his dick. I mean, look, if you look really carefully, I believe this is the Miss Elizabeth tights, which was awesome. He positions it where there's a bulge where her nose is. There's a bulge. His bulge is where her nose is. So her nose is sticking out a little bit because it's his dick. That's brilliant. He belongs on this list for no other reason than that. It was awesome. Rude is so undervalued as a talent, as a wrestler, as a performer. He was great. Represented by, now probably I'd have to say the second greatest manager of all time, Bobby Heenan. Because I do give Paul Heyman credit for being the greatest manager to ever live. I think it's hard to argue with that. Bobby Heenan, though, is right there. Maybe it's more of a 1 and 1A type situation. Everything worked for Rick Rude, man. Everything worked. I love Rick Rude. I think he's great, and his tights were awesome. I remember he was a Junkyard Dog. I think it was Junkyard Dog he was fighting, and his tights were just full on Junkyard Dog, man. And he didn't care. He put a man on the front of his tights. He put a woman on the front of his tights. He didn't give a shit. I mean, that is just the epitome of brazen. I love it. I absolutely love it. It's one of my favorites. Number 2 and number 1. This is where it gets difficult. Number 2 and number 1 could be inverted, flip-flopped, or whatever. I don't think it's actually that close. But let's go to number 2, shall we? Ooh, yeah, the Macho Man. You know the Macho Man, he would have all of his gear, and it would be the epitome of what a man was. Yeah. You see, the Macho Man didn't care. You go and he'd wear all kinds of weird things, the tassels and the robes, and he would still pull it off. Dig it! Because he's the Tower of Power, too cool to be sour. The Macho Man. Yeah, madness. Randy Savage, my God. It doesn't get much better. You want to draw attention to yourself. God, this man knew how to do it. The headbands before the hats, the headbands. It was so 80s. It was so preeminently 80s and so badass. And the ski goggles and the robes. I mean, he took aspects of Ric Flair and superstar Billy Graham and all these guys, and he put it into one. And it was just amazing. They just continued to evolve. And when he went to WCW and when he went to NWO, he took the standard NWO black and white and made it cooler, man. The things that he would wear, it was just cool looking. his voice, his persona. And the biggest thing is he was able to kick the hell out of you, too, because he could back up anything. The weird glasses. We got the ski glasses, then we have like the 1980s slotted glasses that he would wear. It's just the Macho Man. Ooh, yeah, number 2 on this list. I don't think there's any question. It's really, really hard for me not to put him number 1. And believe it or not, I actually did have him on number 1 until I realized who I put him in front of. And I think it's almost impossible to argue number 1. It really is. For years and years and years before he tainted his own legacy, he was my favorite wrestler of all time. I think he's still the greatest in-ring worker, even greater than Shawn Michaels, especially when he was younger. But in terms of this list for the greatest ring gear of all time, there is no question. It can only be one man. Woo! The Nature Boy! Woo! Ric Flair. And this is a rather tame photo of his gear, man. I could just slideshow all the things that he's worn over the years. It's just incredible. I love Ric Flair. You know, as a matter of fact, that's exactly what I'm going to do. Yeah, so now I've gone ahead and I took a quick break and paused it and got a slideshow, a proper slideshow for Ric Flair to show some of the robes that he wore. My God, that's a video game one, but it's a great representation of the outfit that he wore against Shawn Michaels. I mean, look at these robes, man. The infamous, the legendary $15,000 robes that Ric. Yes, and I understand that the gimmick was kind of taken. Oh, look at those two beauties. My God, both dead. Shame. I understand that, yes, he stole a lot from Buddy Rogers, and people always talk about the gimmick and all that stuff. But you know what? What wrestler doesn't borrow from the... Look at that. Look at that. That is amazing. His outfit, he makes pink work. Ric Flair in these robes were legendary. Everything. I have it on shuffle, so we might suffer through 5 seconds of the same ones every now and then. But just everything about these outfits were incredible. And when he wasn't wearing robes, when he was in the suits, talk about the $2,000 shoes and the $5,000 high thread count. Woo! Suits, baby. The Rolex watch. It was Ric Flair. It just, everything about him exuded championship. Professional. Legend. It doesn't get any better. Why did I put this video game one in there? It's ridiculous, but oh, God, look at him. Just look at him. When Ric Flair was in his heyday, I mean, honestly, who was better than Ric Flair? And here's the thing. When I really get talking about Ric Flair and I start talking about his career and everything that he accomplished and everything that he did, I end up usually talking myself into putting him over Shawn Michaels. But then I think about the stuff he did at the end of his career. And I'm not even talking about the hanging on in WWE stuff. I think the way he went out to Michaels was beautiful. I'm talking about the TNA garbage. The fact that he just wouldn't stop. It hurt him so bad. It really did hurt his legacy. And even in that match with Shawn Michaels, when that match was over, I still, at that time, Ric Flair is the greatest of all time. But after that, when he spit in the face of that match and continued to wrestle in TNA, I just downgraded. Maybe I shouldn't. Maybe that's me being a little harsh. But, you know, I love Ric Flair. Absolutely love Ric Flair. Quick story about Ric Flair. This is a true story, too. I went to wrestling school for 2 weeks. And right before I joined the Army. All-American Wrestling Academy in Las Vegas. 2 weeks. Learned all the basics. Had some fun. Everybody knew that I was only going to hang around for 2 weeks. I was going to go to the Army and all of this. But it was good preparation because basic training was not harder than those 2 weeks that I had in wrestling school. Last night, wrestling school was done. I knew I was leaving for the Army soon, so I finished up. We went out and hung out with a bunch of my friends. None of them made it anywhere. I think they worked some indie stuff, but Nothing more than that. But I went out with my friends, and they wanted to treat me to a really cool night because they saw the passion that I had for the business. So in Las Vegas, there was this had to be 2001, early 2001. The Nitro Grill was still open in Las Vegas, in the Excalibur Casino, the casino my mom worked. She worked at and I believe it just closed, Sherwood Forest. It was a coffee shop. And above it was the Nitro Grill. The WCW actually opened a restaurant in the casino, and it was awesome. And there was always wrestlers there. There was always guys there. And 2001, WCW was getting ready to close, and the lights were getting turned out. Everybody knew it. So parties were popping up more and more because there was so much uncertainty. And Ric Flair was known at the time to be in Las Vegas a lot. He was not dealing with the closing well, and he was drinking a lot. Everybody knew that. And most of the people would always talk about the places that Ric Flair would go. And they took me to, first we went to the Nitro Grill, and there was a few guys there, and we hung out and we got some autographs and all that stuff, had some fun. But then we went to, God, was it the Hard Rock? It might have been the Hard Rock. There's a bar outside of the Hard Rock, just outside of the actual venue where concerts and stuff would play. And Ric Flair was known to be there a lot. So they took me there, and one of the guys who was with us knew Ric Flair really well. I had met him a few times, but I knew he didn't remember me. Now, we were all underage, but we knew the people we knew someone who worked at the bar. So we got to hang out without we were far enough away from the bar where it was not a big deal, and we were kind of in the venue area, so we weren't really breaking any laws or anything. We went over and we saw Ric Flair. We saw him sitting at a booth, and we went and they told the story that I was leaving for the Army and all this stuff. And we sit down, and Ric Flair, who was obliterated, by the way, absolutely obliterated, should not be a surprise. He probably hung out with 75, 80 people that night and probably had the same encounter with many people, because the reality is if you bought Ric Flair drinks, you could sit at the table with Ric Flair. So we're hanging out, and they were like, well, you know, Dave, you've never really been chopped by a true master. And we were talking about that, and I took a knife-edge chop from Ric Flair in a bar. I swear to God, when I think about it right now, my chest still hurts. So that's my Ric Flair story. It was a great night. Just awesome guy. You're feeding him drinks, he didn't give a shit. He would sit with you and tell you stories. Ric Flair truly loved, and probably still loves, being Ric Flair. He loves recounting the old days. He loves telling stories. He absolutely loves it. And he should. Live it up, Rick. Live it up. You only go around this crazy world one time, right? And I guarantee not too many people on this planet have lived harder, faster, and wilder than Ric Flair. Can you imagine the life he's led? I mean, he's left a litany of divorces in his wake and financial ruin and bar tabs, but he's had a lot of fun, boy. He's Lear jet flying, limousine riding, boy. Let me tell you. So number one, without a shadow of a doubt, Ric Flair. So what do you guys think? Did I get this one right? Did you enjoy the list? Do I suck balls? Oh, God. My bad. Just let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. What did I miss? What did I overblow? Don't be a little easy on me on the Undertaker thing, okay? It's kind of hard to put him any higher. Maybe he should have been 3, but I love Rick Rude. What can I say? Remember, those first 3, 5, 4, and 3 can all be switched up in any order you want. So let me know what I missed. What do you guys think of the worst 5 list? Was that cool? You just let me know. And I think that will do it for this week's Top 5. Make sure you like, subscribe, and share. As always, we will see you tomorrow. It is viewer question day tomorrow. If you have viewer questions that want to get answered, you can put it right here in this one, and I'll find them, and I will answer your questions tomorrow on Viewer Question Sunday. And we're also going to do some more videos today and tomorrow, so stay tuned for that as well. All right, guys, I'm out of here. Peace.